Okay, Itamexistiko, good day. It is a warm, late Tuesday afternoon, August 14th, 2018, in the first part of the lunar cycle Pakipists Otsitechpi. And I'm here in the upper area of Popson Park, city of Lethbridge, Alberta. And I'm near to I'm in the vicinity of, I don't like to show exact locations, but I'm near to one of the largest prairie rattlesnake hibernacula complexes in the city, perhaps the largest. And this is a familiar place to people who watch my channel because I bring snakes out here for release. I bring a lot of familiar snakes. The ones that belong here I've gotten to know as individuals, some of them, like Tobias, an elder snake that I've encountered every year since I've been running the rattlesnake mitigation program here for Lethbridge. And I'm out here today to show you something troubling, but it's a reality that we're going to have to face, and we're going to have to be witnesses of what happens in this situation. But before I go there, I want to just kind of like brush over, because I didn't put a video out yesterday. It was a very slow day. I had one skunk call in the morning. That skunk, it actually wasn't in the morning, it was kind of the late morning, maybe even past noon. And they had failed to tell me right away at dawn. So I went, and luckily it was in a really shaded area behind a little shed, just a small skunk. And so I picked that one up, tested the new tarp, the new what do you call them? Well, I guess you just call it a tarp. Tested out the new tarp, and it worked again just like it did the day before. No spray, nothing wrong. This morning, however, I had another skunk. This one, the third skunk that I've pulled out of one particular residence, and it too was a young skunk. But unlike the two from the past couple of days, you know, this one I was picking up bright and early in the morning. In fact, it wasn't even 7 a.m. yet, I don't think. And so it had a lot of spunk to it, and it gassed itself. You know, it tried to gas me at one point when I was walking from where the trap had been set to put it in the vehicle. It let some out, some of the stink bomb, and then when I went to release, it did turn. It did think about being a little bit aggressive, but overall, it's still what it did for gassing and what it did for aggression when I let it out was much less than the skunks that I'd been catching, you know, the little skunks I'd been catching with using the big blue tarps and all of that. So I think, you know, it was a really good idea using these drop cloths, and it's going to work out well for the skunks and for me, you know, in terms of limiting our disagreements, so to speak. So I did that yesterday, and then for most of the day I was out picking garlic. I have a friend who's got a little garlic farm, and it's time for him to bring in his crop, so he needs some hands, and I'm happy to lend a hand, especially because he's paying me a little bit for it. So so I was out there helping him, and it's a low-tech operation, which I like, the non-industrial. You know, we're out there with pitchforks and shovels and bare hands, or gloved hands for some guys, and just pulling the garlic up, you know. So there's still several days probably of work out there, at least up and through the weekend. So I'll probably go spend some more time out helping him in that regard, getting his crops in and then kind of prepping them. You have to clean them a little bit and then tie them in bundles and hang them to dry and this kind of thing. This morning I decided to go out and visit the man-made hibernacula in Cottonwood Park. I went there specifically to look at the rookery because I wanted to see if there was any babies or neonate rattlesnakes yet. This is the time when I'm going to start watching out for them, and it won't be long before we start seeing them. The little babies are going to be born. Today I didn't see any. I did stop and look, for those who are wondering, at Mandy's den site. Nobody was home, or at least nobody was basking, but I'm going to continue to be looking there as we close the season to see if I can observe Mandy returning. But down at the artificial den and rookery, I did find one big female there, and so she's definitely going to be having babies down there. For those of you who are new to my channel, this is a compound that I inherited when I took over the rattlesnake program here in Lethbridge about 7 years ago. And this was a site where my predecessor created an artificial den. It's built into the earth here. It's down below the frost line, south facing slope, and he ran a few experiments here where he was relocating snakes, pit tagging them, closing them in for a season, for a year, and then letting them out and then seeing if they returned. The idea, to do this experiment came out of the fact that studies had shown rattlesnakes that are just removed and relocated to other sites other than where their natal dens are would tend to have a high mortality rate because they spend a good part of their rest of their season looking for their den site and may not find another community that they are going to den up with. So that's what studies show. And so Red Ernst, the fellow who started this program here in Lethbridge, he thought to do some experiments here to see if he could get rattlesnakes to begin using this year after year if they were locked in and kind of habituated to it for at least one annual round. And it seems to have worked, at least for some of the snakes. We don't know how many though. Down here there's a rookery. It's also artificial, but it does the trick. Rattlesnakes like to have their babies a little ways from the den site, not too far, okay, not too far, but far enough that the smell of the neonates is not going to attract predators. So for a few years, maybe 4 years, 5 years, there'd been snakes having babies down here every season. And then last year, unfortunately, it looked like a predator got down here and ate the mamas who were here. Like, I found pieces of snake and no neonates last year. So I don't know this year. There was some females hanging out here earlier in the season, so I'm hoping they're still around. A lot of times they're just in the skunk brush here, or they could be under the stone slab, of course. No responses, no rattles. So we'll check out here, check out by the skunk brush outside the compound here and see if there's any around. So I'm going to keep an eye on her, see when she has her babies, and there's another couple of rookeries that I've already checked into earlier in the summer, and I know that there's females there. So we are going to get to see when the neonate rattlesnakes start emerging, when they start being born. They give live birth, so that's coming, week, 2 weeks. And not long after that, the migration back to the dens. And that's part of why I'm out here at Upper Popson this late afternoon, and part of what I wanted to show you here. You know, all the snakes are out here doing their summer thing. They're out in this area. They've got their own like private little individual dens for the summer that they've established. Hunting territory right around that area, somewhere to bask right next to their hole. The rodents dig the holes, by the way. The rattlesnakes don't dig the holes. Rattlesnakes just take over the old rodent holes. And they're going to be coming back home. They're going to be coming back for the winter pretty soon. Unfortunately, some of them, maybe even a good number of them, are going to be thwarted in that effort. And I have to say, I knew this day was coming. I've known it since this mitigation program was handed off to me. You know, in the year or two as I started this program, back 6-7 years ago, the first couple of years, we talked about the issue up here. See all of this same area where the snakes are? All of this area is scheduled to be developed into subdivisions. More houses. And the corporation that's heading that, Melcor, was able, one way or another, to get a minister to sign off on it. To sign off on the development being much closer to the rattlesnake dens than the Wildlife Act would allow. Now I'm going to take a little walk up here because, not today, but yesterday or the day before, that development began in earnest. And I've had several people messaging me over the Rattlesnakes of Lethbridge Facebook page about it. Do I know what's going on out here, and what can we do about it? So I want to talk about that a little bit, but as I do, I'm going to walk out here toward where the development is. I've already counted the paces, so I won't recount, but you'll see it doesn't take me long to get there. Alright, so I'm not at the den site, the hibernacula complex right now, but I'm pretty close. You know, I'm pretty close. Let's just say that I'm there. And how far away from here, where you've seen me drop off lots of rattlesnakes, how far away from here is the development? Well, let's take a little walk. Now, this whole topic of this area, like I said, came up in the first couple of years when I took over the program, and I actually met with an executive from Melcor, along with the city and along with some other naturalists and stuff. We talked about what was going on up here, and we learned that Melcor had the permission of the ministry to go forth to of a minister. I'm not sure, I can't remember which minister it was, but you know, I'm imagining something with sustainable resources, right? And because who can sign off on the wildlife otherwise? But so anyway, we had learned that a minister had signed off on the development plans, and that development would be allowed much closer than the Wildlife Act would have normally allowed them to develop, which is a minimum of 400 meters away for any kind of intense development. Might even be further than that, but that's like a minimum, not necessarily a standard. And so a couple of years back, they installed the first road, the big road coming in. It's going to be the major throughway, and that road is even within the 400 meters. In fact, we're coming up right now to the beginnings of what they've done the last couple of days. So we're starting to hit the development, and we're at 80 meters right now. The road is just up there. It's not more than 150 more meters. So it's, you know, according to the Wildlife Act, it should be twice that far off just to hit the road, if there's going to be a road or anything else from the den, in order to protect these snakes. That's why the regulations are there. It's to protect the species from development. But if the government, which at the time 7-8 years ago would have been a conservative government, if the government gives them the okay to go ahead with development, then, you know, of course they're going to do it. So why do we even have the regulations? I don't know. But I've already, like, a lot of people are going to get mad at what's going on out here who are concerned about the snakes. It's not just the snakes too, it's a lot of other species, but I'm glad that the snakes are kind of a figurehead in this particular area. You know, the whole thing about Lethbridge being able to live with rattlesnakes and coexist. I love that. I love that story. And I'm trying hard to help us live that story. But yeah, you're starting to clear all of this stuff. All of this is being cleared. They've been driving around out there all day clearing, and out this way too. You can't see it, but there's a big section of cleared area out there. They've got plow that's going through, and it's really not far away. So my days of being able to drop snakes off at the area where I'm supposed to drop them off in order to help conserve the species, that area of their natal den, I think is going to be pretty limited here. I'm going to be scouting around for some kind of a badger hole or den site not far from this one, that I can access from the bottom, that I can drop off at. So that backpack is going to come into a lot of use, I think. My transport case. But yeah, I've grappled with the fact that this is going to happen, that the government has allowed this to happen, that the finances, the wheels are already too far in spin. Nothing's going to stop this from happening. You know, not that it's impossible to stop it, but the only persons who can stop it are the people who are in charge of the development. Melcor, for instance, could say, oh, we just realized that the snakes are going to be traveling back to their dens in the next month. So maybe right now is not a good time to be out here plowing all of this up when there's snakes underground here, and when it's going to create this weird open zone for other snakes to have to try to cross to get to their den site. Maybe we could wait a month. We've already waited 7 years. Maybe we could wait a month until they're there before that happens. That's something that could occur. But it's, in terms of the long term, I don't think anybody's going to stop this development. The powers that be are more interested in money than ecology. And I've learned to accept that, and I don't have a pessimistic attitude about it. I've talked to biologists, conservators, my predecessor, Reg Ernst, who handed this program off to me. A lot of people believe that this is going to spell doom for sure for the rattlesnakes. I mean, because the development's going all the way from the houses over there all the way through this area. There's a tower way down there that is where the entrance to Popson Park is, and this is all going to be suburbs. And no doubt beyond that later. This is just the plan right now. Keep on growing. why not plan the development around the species here that we know is supposed to be a protected species? I'm not saying nix the development, but I'm saying have some respect for the snakes that we've put a lot of money and effort into. Lethbridge has invested 20 years into, mitigating our relationship with these snakes, but really it's been a conservation effort. The city is looking out for the residents, but us guys myself, Reg Ernst, John Nightingale, several other people volunteered over the years. We're all in it for the snakes, for helping the snakes. And Lethbridge has invested a lot in that. And so why dump on that by go ahead and getting development underway here at a really crucial time, a critical time, when in the next few weeks the snakes are going to be starting to come back out and come to their dens. We're creating a lot of unnecessary obstacles for them. Be better to let them go to their dens and then do your thing here over the winter and put up some snake fencing so that they're blocked from going in that direction. I don't know. But anyway, I know that some of you are concerned about it. It's something that I've been thinking about for years. It's something that I've already featured on previous videos several times before as I talked about the upcoming development of this area. And it's something that I plan to be a witness of. But I have to be a diplomatic witness because, the snakes that are going to be surviving are going to be depending on me for part of that survival. And so if I mess up and get under the wrong guy's skin, I don't want any of that jeopardized. And I know that kind of thing can happen because it's happened to me before in life. So I'm going to play it diplomatically, but I am going to witness what's going on. Of course, I'm going to be a part of the solution to the unfortunate events. But yeah, I wanted everybody to know that I'm aware of what's going on and monitoring and witnessing, and will keep you updated on what I observe and my thoughts